There are approximately 8 billion human beings on Earth. 8 billion individual minds, each with their own childhood trauma, dopamine receptors, embarrassing memories, irrational fears, philosophical beliefs, favorite foods, and browser histories. And yet, somehow, 8 billion people collectively know the lyrics to Baby Shark. The song has billions of views. How? Are there like two of you? Anyway, today I want to talk about a mysterious psychological phenomenon known as the normie. Now, normie is not a scientific term. It's internet slang for someone perceived as normal, mainstream, or conventional. But I think there's a more interesting definition. The normie isn't necessarily a boring person. The normie is the idea of a person who has outsourced too much of their personality to the surrounding culture. Imagine a normie approaching a fridge, and this fridge contains 17 different yogurts. They pick the one they have seen advertised. Why? Because it's good. What makes it good? Everyone likes it. Why does everyone like it? Because it's good. Congratulations! We have entered the philosophical territory of circular reasoning. Everyone likes it, therefore I should like it, therefore everyone likes it. But here is where things get serious. Humans are social animals. We desperately want belonging. We want to know, who are my people? Solomon Asch famously demonstrated that people could give an obviously incorrect answer to a simple visual question because everyone else in the room gave that answer. Imagine knowing the answer is wrong, but thinking, I know you're wrong, but I don't want to look weird. That's the psychological heart of conformity. And it isn't necessarily stupidity, it's social safety. Imagine you are a prehistoric human. The entire tribe suddenly looks towards the bushes. Now you're thinking, probably nothing. Then everyone starts running. Now you have two possibilities. A, you're an independent thinker, or B, you're about to be eaten. The human brain therefore developed an extremely useful piece of software that has this question: what is everyone else doing? Unfortunately, modern society turned that software into TikTok. The average person doesn't wake up thinking, today I shall surrender my individuality to the trends. It happens gradually. First, what is everyone listening to? Then, what is everyone wearing? Then, what are people saying about this? Then, what's the correct opinion? And then, eventually, I don't know what I think, but I know what I'm supposed to think. That's the real normie condition. And liking popular things doesn't make you a normie. You can listen to Taylor Swift, watch football, wear Nike, and drink Starbucks while having an extremely independent mind. The problem begins when popularity becomes your substitute for judgment. Erich Fromm wrote about the escape from freedom. Freedom sounds wonderful until you actually have it, because freedom means you have to choose, and choosing means responsibility. If society tells you what career to pursue, what success means, what relationships should look like, and what you are supposed to want, you don't have to construct a life. You just follow the instructions, right? Sometimes people don't want freedom, they want relief from the burden of deciding who they are. Nisha saw something similar in the herd. The crowd gives you certainty. It tells you what is good, bad, beautiful, disgusting, successful, and pathetic. Suddenly, you don't have to think. You simply have to belong. And in 2026, the tribe is digital. The internet follows you everywhere. It learns what makes you angry, jealous, insecure, and excited, then feeds you more of it. You could be sitting on the toilet at 11:47 p.m. and the internet whispers 7 signs you're wasting your life, and you click. And there you go. Congratulations. Once again, you've just been psychologically manipulated while taking a dump. The enlightenment has truly arrived. But the greatest twist is the anti-normie can be just as conformist. They wear black, they hate mainstream music, they quote Nisha, they tell everyone, I think differently, and then you discover they have exactly the same opinions as probably 47,000 other people in their particular online subculture. So, again, congratulations. You've escaped one herd and then you've joined another. Being obscure isn't the same thing as being original. Trying extremely hard to be unique can make you extremely predictable. Kierkegaard believed becoming an individual meant becoming more than simply a member of the public. And that's much harder than wearing strange clothes. The real questions are, what do you believe? What do you value? What are you willing to sacrifice for? And what kind of person do you want to become? And what do you believe when nobody is watching? That's individuality. So, how do you escape? Well, you can start by asking, what do I actually think? Not what your friends think or what your favorite influencer thinks, and certainly not what Ezra thinks. What do you think? Read things that, disagree with you. Learn deeply about the things you love. Stop consuming everything passively. And learn to say, I don't know. I disagree. I actually like that. I don't care if it's popular. And perhaps the most powerful thing you can do is say that you've changed your mind. Because changing your mind requires enough strength to survive the death of your previous identity. Also, do things badly. Paint badly, write badly, play piano badly. Start the terrible business because the question, what will people think, keeps you concerned with reputation, while what happens if I try keeps you concerned with experience. And finally, develop a private life. Do things nobody knows about. Read without posting it. Walk without, photographing it. Learn without announcing it. Think thoughts that don't need to become content. Because if every experience becomes something you perform for an audience, you are no longer simply living. You're just managing your image. And that's really, really exhausting. And if you leave this video thinking, well, I must become superior to normies, then you've completely missed the point. Contempt for ordinary people isn't evidence of extraordinary intelligence. It's often insecurity, probably wearing a fancy hat. The crowd says, be normal. You say, I'll be abnormal. But the crowd still controls you. True independence means being capable of saying, sometimes I agree with the crowd and sometimes I don't, without needing either answer to define your ego. Because the ultimate goal isn't to become a non-normie, that would still be a category. And categories are convenient little boxes humans use to avoid thinking. The real goal is much harder, is to become difficult to categorize.